Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and as is my wont on occasion, whenever I get my hands on some new action figures, collectibles, goodies, things of that nature, I like to do a showcase video showing some of that stuff off because it is becoming more and more increasingly rare that I can actually spend more than like 20 bucks a month on such collectibles, and it just so happens in the last couple of months I've been able to find a few discounts here and there and get more figures than I normally would get my hands on, and so I'm going to show off some of my newest acquisitions, and I'm going to start off with the first figure that I've been able to get my hands on from the upcoming Solo: A Star Wars Story, the Black Series 6-inch version of the young Han Solo, as he will appear in that film, as played by Alden Ehrenreich, I believe is the actor's name, how it's pronounced. And this is just all kinds of awesome sauce right here. I will go ahead and open him up. I already had opened him up, when I first got him. Managed to get this through eBay. This was my one sole April 2018 gift to myself, and I got it for 20 bucks, and that was with shipping, which was interesting because I assume, I saw like the same seller had the Lando Calrissian figure, and that was like, almost 30 bucks. The Kira figure was almost 30 bucks. But Han himself was only 20, and that was with $8 shipping. So it rounded out to being like $12 for the figure itself. And that was kind of nonsensical to me because I was like, damn, new Black Series figures of a new upcoming movie. But then I saw a video of somebody reviewing this figure talking about how they assumed these Han Solo figures for the Solo: A Star Wars Story, would probably be peg warmers because people are going to be altogether not too happy with the fact that they're not getting Harrison Ford as Han Solo. And so people may skip it or whatever. And ironically, that wasn't the case for me. That's the first figure out of the Solo: A Star Wars Story Black Series figures that I desperately wanted to get my hands on. I love Han, have always loved Harrison Ford's portrayal, and I'm completely open-minded to this new interpretation, this younger version of him before we ever meet him in A New Hope. And here is the figure out of the box. And it is just spectacular as far as I'm concerned. The entire motif, the costuming, the brown leather jacket with the even darker brown sort of, highlights or whatever you want to say, accents, he's got like this little red and silver badge on there. I don't know what that signifies. The black tunic underneath, of course, the gunslinger belt is commonplace with Han Solo. And of course he's got the blood stripe down his pant leg, which I think is Corellian in origin. And it's interesting to me because you see him with that in A New Hope, but then I think I saw, in like later movies, Empire or Jedi, he's got like a yellow stripe, I think. And I don't know what the significance in difference is between the red and the yellow, but I love this figure. One of the reasons I was really excited to get my hands on it, you can also see he has his blaster in its holster, is the photorealistic face sculpts that they're doing nowadays. I mean, this looks exactly like the actor. And the whole hair, the whole coif is very much Harrison Ford Han Solo-esque. But, there's a little bit of a glare. I'm going to try to dim out the glare with my hand so you can see a little bit of the detail of the face. This photorealism that they're doing in the face sculpts is insane. It's exquisite. I mean, that looks exactly like the actor, and you can't really tell. I would highly recommend, if you want to see full-on analytical reviews of figures like this, go check them out on YouTube, that kind of thing. But you can't really tell, but his eyes are even glossy. Like, there's a shine to them, so they look like they're real eyes, that kind of thing. And this is insanely awesome. The entire motif, I mean, this is a young representation of Han Solo to me, even though it is not Harrison Ford. I mean, you can't wind time back, Ford, for all of his acting prowess, his acting chops, he's not going to be able to play somebody, you know, half his age as effectively, and unless they did it like CGI or something. And that would be a whole new ball of complaints that people would have a field day with. But I love this figure. It's the one I wanted first and foremost out of the Solo A Star Wars Story Black Series figures. Now, unfortunately, I feel like I'm never going to get my hands on the Lando to go alongside him, which is the next one I want the most. You know, the way the character looks in the trailers and everything like that is perfect. It's pitch perfect. Very much precursor to Billy D. Williams, and which I do have the Empire Strikes Back version of Lando in Black Series figure form. But I got to get that younger Lando to go alongside this one, and I just fear I'm never going to find it in any local stores, and if I want to try to get it online, I'm going to probably have to save up a couple of months to be able to afford it on my budget and everything like that. So that is the only Star Wars piece to start off this video, but to showcase in the entirety of this video. A lot of the other stuff I got was very much discounted. Like, I was able to get my hands on Gwenpool, the Marvel Legends Gwenpool figure. I had picked up, you know, immediately some time ago now, a couple of years ago now, or maybe a year ago, something like that. I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline, the scheduling. But I had gotten Spider-Gwen, and because, you know, as much as I love MJ, you know, Mary Jane Watson, I've always had a soft spot for Gwen Stacy in the girlfriends of Spider-Man, Peter Parker. And I loved the Spider-Gwen as soon as I saw her. I've never read a single comic depicting her at all. But I was aware that this was loosely based on Gwen Stacy in its design, sort of a mashup of Deadpool and Gwen Stacy. And then, lo and behold, I found out via a Toy Galaxy video recently that talked about this piece or a similar piece, you know, Gwenpool related, that this character has taken on her own personality now in the Marvel Universe, the comic book universe. I think she's a character who comes from our world, and she tripped over into the comics, so she was like a geek, a comic geek, and everything like that, and has a thorough familiarity with all the Marvel superheroes and everything, and villains. And so she's become thoroughly her own character when originally she was based on Gwen Stacy. But I love it. I managed to get this at a massive discount, and that was a rarity, and I had to pick it up. I also managed to get my hands on 3 sort of, I guess you could say, loosely Avengers-related figures. First was the Classics version of Black Widow at my local Walgreens, which was marked down to $12. And it's just a badass figure. You know, they released a whole bunch of Classics figures. There was Iron Man, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America. I also got the Captain America, but I put that away somewhere. I left it in the package. And this one I opened up, though, because I was doing, like, face sculpt comparisons. Because a lot of people have said they've been reusing this feminine face on a lot of their figures. And, you know, I see similarities between some of the ones I've gotten my hands on. But Black Widow is, you know, that's an awesome version of the figure. Not really thrilled with the movie version of her, so I wanted to have sort of a more comic accurate. And this was like a throwback to some of the figures that were produced in the like mid to late 80s, that kind of thing, with the motif, a very more simplistic color design and things of that nature. I also managed to get my hands on the Enchantress, another figure discounted at Walgreens for $12. And speaking of the face sculpt, I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell, but she's got a really cocky expression. And I love that. You know, most of the figures, they don't really have any expressions on their faces. They're just sort of plain-faced. But she's got a thorough, like, cocky look. And her whole motif, I just love it. I love the outfit. I love the design. But really, the face sculpt is what sold it for me. I love the fact that she wasn't plain-faced. She's sort of, you know, looking really cocky, as I say. And then I was also able to get, and I had seen this at my local Walgreens for a while, but it wasn't until after I finally got around to watching Thor Ragnarok that I decided to go back and pick this up. I also got the Hela, you know, Cate Blanchett's villainous character from Thor Ragnarok. I had picked that up actually a month or two ago, and that one also is put away. But I went back and I got Thor from Thor Ragnarok. and I love the hell out of this figure. I love the helmet. It's not quite the traditional Thor helmet, and it is not removable, so far as I know, which is the only downside, but he looks all kinds of badass. And Thor Ragnarok has proven to be my favorite of the 3 Thor films thus far. So, you know, I knew he was sitting there. I knew I could get him for $12. I went back and got him recently. So then apart from that, sticking with the Walgreens theme, and I will have to open these up while I'm talking, but Walgreens has been getting exclusive Marvel Legends figures, and the ones that I've been most excited about are the Fantastic Four figures. Now, so far, as of the time of this recording, there have been 3 that have been released. The first was Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, which is just dynamite, all kinds of dynamite. She's kind of got a grin going on here too. Almost looks like a similar, you know, face sculpt to Enchantress, but, you know, they are actually different. Just side-by-side comparison here. And you can see the skin tone, the flesh tone is darker on this one a little bit. But they're different, you know, faces. So, of course, I got Invisible Woman first. She was the first to be released, as I say. The next to be released was her brother, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. Flame on! And I'm going to leave him in the package just because, you know, you can see well enough. And then third, most recently, officially released, I should say, because it has been subsequently announced that they're coming out with Silver Surfer and they're coming out with Thing. So, I don't know when those are going to be coming out, and I hope I can get my hands on them when they do. But as I say, the third to be released was Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. And through a strange quirk of fate, not only did I get this figure $12 discounted, because Walgreens had that Marvel Legends like deal going on. I don't know if it's still going on in April 2018. But I managed to get my hands on 2 of him. And so I ended up seeing on Facebook somebody else had a, you know, secondary Reed Richards figure, and they came up with this idea to customize the figure into a non-flame-on Johnny Storm, figuring that, you know, Hasbro would probably never release a non-flame-on version of Johnny Storm because who's, you know, going to want to buy that, is their mentality. When you have the flame-on version, you don't need a non-flame-on version. So what they effectively did was, because the heads on most Marvel Legends these days are easily swapped out, you know, they took the head off Reed and they went and called back to a Winter Soldier line Captain America, which if you got the Winter Soldier Captain America figure from Marvel Legends, it came with an alternate swappable head unmasked. And of course, anyone who, you know, remembers those 2 Fantastic Four movies where Chris Evans played Johnny Storm, Human Torch, before he ever played Captain America, well, it works so well to create a non-flame-on Johnny Storm using that head. And I realized I had that figure, and so I set about making my very first customized figure in a non-flame-on Johnny. And I was so uber stoked when I realized, oh crap, I have that figure. I have that alternate head. I had to tear apart half my toy closet to find it. You know, when I realized I was going to be sidled up with an extra, you know, Mr. Fantastic. And I love it. I love how it came out. This is my first official figure custom, and it's probably the most work I will ever do on one, because I'm just not gifted to paint them or you know, resculpt or anything like that. Although this one did take a little bit of sculpting work, because as it turned out, the ball hinge under the head of the Reed Richards figure is bigger. It was wider than that which was found on the Captain America figure. And so I had to actually whittle out the head to make it fit, you know, securely and snugly on the body so that it would look natural. And just putting them side by side, as you can see, I mean, if you can get past the fact that they both have the same body type, I mean, usually, you know, Johnny's probably a little smaller but more muscular, that kind of thing, but they both look different enough but similar enough, you know. And then of course brother and sister standing side by side. I love it. I love that I stumbled across that post that showcased how you can mod your own non-Flame-On Johnny Storm, and now I officially have one. Which will eventually, when I have a display, I'm going to put them all together. But I almost wish I could produce more action figure review showcase content, but I just usually can't afford to get my hands on stuff these days as often as I wish I could. But yeah, so otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this little look at some of the more recent stuff that I've gotten my hands on. And, you know, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.